Hello there, Hydrauliac here. Is some pushy salesman trying to upsell you to the latest and greatest load sense system? Or have you simply wondered what the pros and cons are to the various kinds of hydraulic systems? Let's dive in to see if load sense is really worth it. The answer may surprise you. It's hard to objectively say what kind of hydraulic system is better without looking at specific applications. However, if we narrow our scope a little bit, there are some clear winners in certain areas. Let's see how open center, closed center, and load sense systems stack up against each other on some individual categories. First, let's take a look at the category that everyone cares about: cost. Looking at the cost of the components required for each system, open center systems are the clear winner here. Gear pumps are inexpensive compared with closed center and load sense pumps. Closed center also narrowly beats out load sense here because of the additional parts required to shuttle your load sense signal. However, the cost of these components is usually minimal compared to the rest of the system. The other big driver of cost is efficiency. First, let's do a quick refresher on how hydraulic systems consume power. Power is a function of pressure and flow. Increasing either the pressure or the flow will increase the horsepower required. Any horsepower not doing work is an inefficiency that is turned into heat. Looking at the case of an idle system, an open center system will be at full flow. It will be low pressure because it isn't doing any work. However, it isn't zero pressure because the pump has to push oil through lines and valves. The pressure can be surprisingly high depending on the length of lines and the pressure drop across the valves. Next, looking at the closed center system, it will be at full system pressure. However, the flow will be nearly zero. There may be some leakage through valves internally or through the case drain on the pump, so it isn't really zero flow, but it is very close. Lastly, looking at load sense in an idle condition, the pressure will just be the standby pressure of the pump. Like the closed center system, the flow will be nearly zero. Comparing some typical flow and pressure numbers for each of these systems, open center is clearly the least efficient, with load sense narrowly beating out closed center for this idle condition. Moving on to active functions, the open center system is full flow. However, it only builds up to the required pressure to run a function. The closed center system is the opposite, with only the required flow and full system pressure, while the load sense system only builds the required flow and the required pressure. For the efficiency of an active function, load sense clearly wins here, with a little bit of a toss-up between open center and closed center. However, we need to consider the application as well as efficiency. Load sense systems have some lag between when a function is turned on and when it actually starts running. This is because the pump has to build up both flow and pressure, while for open center and closed center systems, the pump only has to build up one or the other instead of both. This results in faster response times. So if response times are critical, such as with an excavator boom, load sense may not make sense, even though it is more efficient. Lastly, let's look at serviceability. I would rank open center first, because the valves for open center usually aren't as prone to contamination failures. I would then rank closed center second, because it doesn't have the additional load sense signal components to deal with. Speaking of which, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the upcoming load sense troubleshooting video. Putting all of these things together, there is no clear winner. It really depends on your specific application which one of these systems is best. As a hydraulic engineer, I prefer to use load sense because industry is always driving to more efficient systems. However, open center is great for cost-sensitive machines, and closed center definitely has its place as well. As always, thanks for watching.